Hi, welcome to today's session on Guide to the UPSC Mains English Literature Optional Paper. In this episode, we will be picking a key poem from our syllabus, William Wordsworth's Ode, Intimations of Immortality, from Recollections of Early Childhood. We will be exploring this poem, the purpose of this poem, what is it about, right? I will be telling you what it is about. And we'll also discuss later on how it appears in the exam, right? It may appear as an indirect question. So let's get started on this. Okay, so this poem, Ode, Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood, it begins by Wordsworth mourning the loss of divine radiance or a kind of glory that seems to have bathed the natural world in wonder when he was younger, like as a child. It's like how children reflect and perceive nature with joy and with a sacred kind of clarity, sense of connection to something eternal. But with age, that gleam dims, that glory is somehow gone. So that's what he mourns about in the poem. Okay, so it's natural for people to generally recollect their childhood and think about incidents that were kind of beautiful, that were kind of bathed in some kind of divine glory. Because see, children as children, mind is pure, and there is a certain divinity in perception of how children. There is a difference between how an adult sees nature and how a child experiences the joy of nature, which sometimes goes missing. So, what I'll go through this poem. We'll read this poem line by line, and we'll dig deeper into this. Okay. So this begins with the epigram: "The child is father of man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural piety." Okay, so the lines are from his own poem. It is another poem, right? That Wordsworth wrote, but he includes that as an epigram for this poem. So, what does he mean? The child is the father of man. See, again, he is reflecting on how the child is, in essence, pure and perceives everything differently. There is certain purity in his perception of nature as well. So it is the adult that probably needs to learn from the child, not learn the worldly things, but to learn things that he has forgotten, like things like the glory, which is no longer there in adulthood. So maybe he can recollect and probably he can uh, learn some things from it. Right? He cannot fully recover the lost glory. So probably he's talking about the innocence and the divinity which is associated with the child. See, what he believes is people are initially very pure, they're closer to the divine light, and as they go older, they go away from that source, they go away from truth and beauty. And that is lamentable, according to Wordsworth. See, as a poet, he sees nature around him, he sees the beauty around nature. But that beauty doesn't seem to be affecting him in the same way that it was affecting him when he was a child. Now, for a poet, that is a big deal, right? It is like it is for a normal man. Normal people may not even be concerned about such things, but for a poet, it is everything. Okay. So that's what he is talking about initially in the poem. So let me go line by line and offer some explanations. It's a beautiful poem. See, there was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth, and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and freshness of a dream. It is not now as it hath been of yore. Turn wheresoever I may, by night or day, The things which I have seen, I now can see no more. So that's what he's talking about. He says what he saw earlier in childhood is no more. Okay, so he's saying there was a time when fields, forests, streams, and every ordinary sight felt as if they were glowing with heavenly light, like part of a beautiful dream. But the magic is gone. Wheresoever he turns, day or night, he couldn't get that sense of wonder that he once had. Okay, let's continue the lines. The rainbow comes and goes, and lovely is the rose. The moon doth with delight look around her when the heavens are bare. Waters on the starry night are beautiful and fair. The sunshine is a glorious birth. But yet I know wherever I go that there hath passed away a glory from the earth. See, he sees everything is fine, everything is still beautiful. The rainbow is fine, the moon is beautiful. Waters on the starry night are beautiful and fair. He says the sunshine is beautiful, it's like a glorious birth, right? But yet he knows that there is something that has passed away. So that's what we are talking about. Um there was something in childhood, like a glory that is no more. He sees everything as beautiful, but it doesn't appear to him in that kind of glory, and he kind of laments that. Right? It's a big deal for him. For poets, that feeling is important, especially as a romantic poet. Somebody losing that thrill and that divine perception of nature, I would call it, is something bad. Losing that is bad. That's what is kind of mourning. See, it's not that things around him have changed. It is that something in his has changed, and due to which everything has become kind of mundane. It is beautiful, but it's still mundane. It doesn't have that initial thrill that was there in childhood. Okay, so you understand the significance when he says child is the father of man. So children are supposed to be, according to him, children are like they are very close to God initially, but as time grows, as people become adult, that glory is gone. It fades away. Okay. So let's continue. Now, while the birds thus sing a joyous song, and while the young lambs bound as to the tabor's sound, to me alone there came a thought of grief. A timely utterance gave that thought relief, and I again am strong. Okay, so again he says, the birds are singing and the lambs are bounding to the tabor sound. The tabor is a drum actually. So the lambs are skipping around very happily, and the birds are fine, everything is fine. But to him alone comes a grief, a thought of grief. Okay. He says that a timely utterance gave that thought relief. Okay, so he's saying probably giving utterance to the thought. Maybe he wrote a poem, or maybe he gave an utterance to the thought in some other way. Or maybe he wrote a poem, and that brought him temporary relief. Okay, it's like, okay, since he has given vent to his thoughts, maybe he's relieved. Okay. And he says he's strong again. The cataracts blow their trumpets from the steep. The cataracts are waterfalls, and they blow the trumpet. It's like the sound of the waterfalls are like they are like trumpets being blown from the steep, right? No more shall grief of mine the season wrong. So he says he doesn't want to impute to nature something that is in him, right? He doesn't want to say that nature is not beautiful. It is something that him that is changed. So he doesn't want to wrong the seasons and say that it's not beautiful. It is still beautiful. It is something in him that was restricting him from feeling the beauty. Okay? I hear the echoes through the mountain throng. The winds come to me from the fields of sleep, and All earth is gay. Now he seems to be temporarily again happy. Land and sea give themselves up to jollity. He says, land and sea, everything is engaged in that jollity, in that kind of. You see, if you go and sit with nature, you find some happiness that is inbuilt in nature. You see the rivers and trees; they seem quite happy. When you go and sit in such place, your mind is elevated. You yourself become more peaceful. Right? Okay, so he says, land and sea give themselves up to jollity. And with the heart of May doth every beat keep holiday. Everything is rejoicing. Holiday, everything is rejoicing. Thou child of joy, shout round me, let me hear thy shouts. Thou happy shepherd boy. Okay. So, okay, again let's move further. Ye blessed creatures, I have heard the call ye to each other make. I see the heavens laugh with you in jubilee. My heart is at your festival. My head hath its coronal. So he seems to be okay. He says he is with them in that happiness. Okay. So my heart is at your festival. His heart is with the celebration in the coronal in the festival. The fullness of your bliss, I feel it all. So he does partake, he does participate in that. Oh, evil day, if I were sullen, while earth herself is adorning. He said, it would be an evil, sullen day if everything is happy and I'm not participating in that. This sweet May morning and the children are culling on every side in a thousand valleys far and wide, fresh flowers. Okay, so the children are quite, I mean, they're gathering the flowers. It's a beautiful scenery that he talking about. While the sun shines warm and the babe leaps up on his mother's arms. I hear with joy, I hear. But there's a tree of many one, a single field which I have looked upon. Both of them speak of something that is gone. The pansy at my feet, that the same tale repeat. The tree suddenly is giving him back that grief. Okay, it is like uh, see, it's not about the external things. The thing here is he temporarily tries to convince himself, tries to convince himself probably that things are fine and he is happy. But then he is not because suddenly even that tree reminds him of some grief. Okay, it repeats the same. The flower, the pansy at my feet, doth the same tale repeat. What tale is it? Whither is fled the visionary gleam? Where is it now, the glory and the dream? So he says, I mean, it is the same thing. Where is that glory? Where is that gleam that he once felt? Okay, so he's mourning for that. Where is it now? The glory and the dream. So I just paraphrased it a little bit. All living creatures seem to call to another in happy chorus, and the sky itself seems to laugh with joy. I feel crowned by their happiness. Yet when I look at a single tree, a familiar field, or a simple pansy, I am reminded of that lost vision and dream. So this is just a kind of paraphrase for the above earlier lines. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, here is something interesting that he says. Our birth is but a sleep and forgetting. Okay, so the soul that rises with us, our life star, hath had elsewhere its setting and cometh from far. Okay, here it's interesting. He refers to birth as a sleep and forgetting, not as a beginning, but as a kind of forgetting. Forgetting of what? Forgetting of a particular kind of glory that he was missing, right? Okay, let me read that again. Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life star, hath had elsewhere its setting, and cometh from afar. Okay, here is the belief. He says it seems like the soul is like it has a it's pure initially. It comes from somewhere else. Okay, and then our birth and our life actually makes us forget what it makes us forget our divinity. Maybe initially it was quite divine, and gradually as we mix up with the world, it is becoming less and less divine. Okay, so our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that arises with us, our life star, hath had elsewhere its setting, elsewhere where with God, and cometh from afar, not in entire forgetfulness and not in utter nakedness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come from God, who is our home. That's an interesting choice of words. He says we are trailing clouds of glory and we come from God. And that's why children are the closest at that time. And as we live our lives, we keep forgetting that glory. We become a little bit worldly. Heaven lies about us in our infancy. Shades of prison house begin to close. So very poetic, right? Shades of prison house begin to close as we upon the growing boy. But he beholds the light whence it flows. He sees it in his joy. The youth who daily farther from the east must travel, still is nature's priest, and by the vision splendid is on his way attended. At length, man perceives it dies away and fade into the light of common day. So that's a beautiful way of saying it. So I just paraphrase it for simplicity. Human life is mostly like sleeping and forgetting. Before birth, our soul lives in a purer realm, carrying memories of divine light. As infants, we faintly recall that heavenly home, but as we grow up, the inner glory fades. So it's like it's a beautiful vision that Wordsworth presents. See, the youth who daily farther from the east must travel still is nature's priest. So he keeps traveling away from the source. Okay, he is still within that splendid vision is on the way and which attends him on the way. But at length, man perceives that it, but he gets far enough eventually and it dies away. That he is beautifully saying as it fades away into the light of common day. So that splendid glory is just now not even a remnant. It is just like it is fades into the common daylight. So it's a beautiful way of saying it. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Earth fills her lap with pleasures of her own, yearnings she hath in her own natural kind, and even with something of a mother's mind and no unworthy aim, the homely nurse doth all she can to make her foster child her inmate man, forget the glories he hath known, and that imperial place whence he came. Okay, so let me explain this. Right? See, this says Earth is like mother. She will probably, with her own pleasures, make the child forget the foster child. Means as she protects him and makes him grow into an adult man, she is doing her job, right? Nature, the homely nurse, does all she can to make her foster child her inmate. So she is helping in the growth. But then the glory is forgotten in the process, right? And the imperial palace from when he came is forgotten. Okay, it's just like it's not that nature or earth is at fault. Earth is just taking care of them. But in the act of growing up, in the very act of growing up, the child is no longer a child, he becomes a man. And the vision is only with the child and not with the man. So that's what happens. Okay, just for simplicity, I paraphrase it. Earth opens its own pleasures, friendship, love, honor, wealth, power, and these comfort helps us forget where we came from. These joys also cover up the deeper magic which we once saw. So that's what the essence of the poem is. Okay, but let's move further. Behold the child among his newborn blisses, a 6 year darling of pygmy size. See where amid the work of his own hand he lies, fretted by sallies of his mother's kisses, with light upon him from his father's eyes. See at his feet some little plan or chart, some fragment from his dream of human life, shaped by himself with newly earned art, a wedding or a funeral, a mourning or funeral, and this hath now his heart. And unto this he frames his song. Then will he fit his tongue to dialogues of business, love, or strife. But it will not be long. Even this be thrown aside, and with new pride, new joy and pride, the little actor comes another part. Feeling from time to time his humor stage with all the persons down to the palsy days that life brings with in her equipage, as is wild, as if his whole occasion were endless imitation. See, here it's narrated in a wonderful way. What is narrated? The growth of a child, right? So first, right, he mentions some important like poetic way of saying things, right? Fretted by sallies of his mother's kisses. So fretted, probably the child is probably engaged in his own act, and the mother tries to kiss him, but he says, okay, uh, he is slightly pushing her away and saying, okay, let me focus on my path. I'll, and he sees approval in his father's eyes. So, and then he lays his plans, and then probably he now dreams about a wedding as he grows on. He dreams about a wedding or a festival, a mourning or a funeral, and that had now his heart. So he's invested in things, right? As he grows, he's no longer the child. He tries to do the important things in the world. But in doing those important things, he's forgetting something that is the most important, that is this glory with which he saw nature. So that is being forgotten. See, in this common world, in this daily world also, people keep learning. And in the process, whatever was original is forgotten. Whatever was divine, he moves away from that child, which is divine, closer to the light, closer to the source. And now he is in the world. He thinks he's progressing, making progress, but gradually he loses that inner light. But it is beautifully narrated here. The little actor cons another planet, feeling from time to time humor stage. So he is playing different parts as he moves along. See, let me paraphrase this. Look at that little child, just 6 years old, wrapped up in new joys. He is nestled with his own creative world, all fussed over by his mother's playful kisses and growing in the pride shining from his father's eyes. At his feet lies a small drawing model that he has made, one of his early attempts to map out human life. It might show a wedding feast or a funeral. The scenes might have captured his imagination so fully that he sets them to his little own song. He next practices adult talk, mocking up conversation, work, love, quarrel, but he never sticks with one script. And then he moves on, right? With fresh excitement and pride, he drops the role and auditions another. He moves on to another basically till old age. Probably, see, it's a beautiful way of representing the growth of a child from childhood to time where he's old and fancy, an old person. Again and again, he fills his private day with every figure life will bring him young lovers, bustling merchants, and even trembling old, playing each part of his whole. Okay, he plays each part as if the entire life's purpose was only imitating these characters. Something, and it's a beautiful way that Wordsworth puts it. In fact, it does seem like an imitation, right? You are playing different roles, and probably they are just roles that you take up. So Yeah. Thou, whose exterior semblance doth belie thy soul's immensity, thou best philosopher, who yet dost keep thy heritage, thou eye among the blind. Who is he talking about? He's talking about the child still. Thou whose exterior semblance doth belie thy soul's immensity. What does it mean? Okay, so his exterior, the child is very small, right? His exterior doesn't really portray his soul's immensity, which is great. I mean, he is closer to God, but his small form doesn't portray that. It is deceiving. He calls the child the best philosopher. Why? Because he is close to that stage of divinity. And man must learn from his childhood, from that state of childhood where then he is pure. Okay, thou best philosopher who yet doth dost keep thy heritage, thou eye among the blind, that deaf and silent readest the eternal deep. So the child is deaf and silent, not literally, but deaf and silent to the world. But he reads the eternal deep, probably the divine source from where he came. He reads that place very well. Haunted forever by the eternal mind. What does it mean? He is all the eternal mind is always with him. The eternal mind is God. Mighty prophet, seer blessed, on whom truths do rest. So Wordsworth says he's a mighty prophet, the child. He is a seer that is blessed, on whom truths do rest. While we are toiling all our lives to find in darkness lost and darkness of the grave, thou over whom the immortality broods like a day, a master over slave, presence which is not to be put by, thou little child, yet glorious in the might of heaven from freedom on thy being's height. Okay, so see, it is like I'll paraphrase it a bit. Uh, though your inward form gives no limit, no hint of the vast spirit within you, you remain a truest philosopher. That's what he says, right? Preserving a wisdom we adults toil to uncover. An eye among the blind, who deaf and silent, fathoms the eternal, ever haunted by the timeless intelligence. You are a prophet. Who? The child. The word. This is the paraphrase, okay, not the original. The original one is above, which is beautifully put. This is just converting to a simpler language for understanding. You are already a mighty prophet, blessed with truths we search for in life's grave like darkness. Your sense of immortality brooding over you like daylight, governing governing night, a presence that cannot be dismissed. Though still a small child, you glow with heaven-born freedom at the summit of your being. Yet you rush. Okay, so he says attributes all these qualities: the prophet and the seer, the child. Right? But then the next line he says, "Thou little child, yet glorious in the mind of heaven-born freedom." And then, why with such earnest pain dost thou provoke the years to bring the inevitable yoke? Thus blindly with thy blessedness at strife. Okay, so he is asking a question. So in spite of the child having all this, he is addressing the child. He first says he's a prophet and all, but then he asks the child, why is he so eager to get into slavery? Yoke is slavery, right? What kind of slavery? The worldly cares. The things that the child is striving for is nothing but misery of worldly strife. So he's saying, why are you so earnestly striving for it? Something that will give you only bondage. So you see, these are rhetorical questions. The point is, okay, why are you so hell-bent on losing that original divinity? That's the point. He is not literally saying that, okay, the child should not grow. That's not what he means. What he's saying is, he shouldn't lose sight of that divinity and get into the worldliness. It is unavoidable, but for Wordsworth, that is a lost glory. Why is it so important? Because for the poet, that is everything. He needs to feel that nature. It is a romantic poet. These guys need to feel the thrill, the natural glory and divinity of nature. Without that, he seems it's not even worth existing. Right? That's how important it is for the poet. Why with such earnest pain thou dost provoke the years to bring the inevitable yoke? So why is he provoking and making such with such earnest pains the years? Why is he provoking the years to bring him such slavery? That's what he means. Thus blindly with thy blessedness at strife, full soon thy soul shall have her earthly fate. Soon you will be burdened with the earth's worldly care, right? Soon your soul will bear his earthly freight, and custom will settle upon you like frost, cold, weighty, and deep, almost as profound as life itself. That is what he means. Okay, so okay, let's continue. Oh joy that in our embers is something that doth live, that nature yet remembers what was so fugitive. So he is saying it's joyful that in our what are embers? When the coal or things are burning, what's the leftover, right? In that recess, in that depth, in our own self, there is something that is smoldering, right? Smoldering embers, where something yet it's joyful that in our embers is something that doth live, that nature yet remembers. What was so it is joyful that nature still remembers that lost sense of glory, which is now like a smoldering ember now. Right? He says it's a joy. And what was so fugitive? I mean, it was such a fugitive thing, but it's a joy that nature yet remembers. The thought of our past years in me doth breed perpetual benediction. Not indeed for that which is most worthy to be blessed, delight and liberty, the simple creed of childhood, whether busy or at rest, with new fledged hope still fluttering in this way. Not for these I raise the song of thanks and praise, but for those obstinate questionings of sense and outward things, failings from us, vanishings, blank misgivings of a creature moving about in world not realized. High instincts before which our mortal nature did tremble like a. Okay, here let me paraphrase this for you. How joyful it is that even as our inner fires die down, something will still be there with nature hasn't forgotten, right? Nature hasn't forgotten moments we thought were lost forever. Reflecting on bygone years fills me with constant gratitude. Not for the pure delight and liberty, or not, though carefree days were sweet and hope always, but for the stubborn questions. Okay, he is thankful for the stubborn questions that arose about what we perceived. Those sudden disappearances and airy unease as we wandered through worlds not yet explored. The lower towering instincts that made our mortal souls quake like startled creature caught off guard. But for those first affections, those shadowy recollections, which be they what they may, are yet the fountain light of our day, and yet the master light of all of seeing, uphold us cherish and have powers to make our noisy ears seen in the moment of silent truths that wake to perish never, which never listless nor bad endeavor, nor man, nor boy, nor all that is at enmity with joy can utterly abolish or destroy. He is saying, let's just summarize this. I'll give thanks to those earliest stirrings, those dim, half-seen memories. So that's what he is saying. They remain the spring light at the source of every day, the guiding light behind all our visions. They uphold us, nourish us, and can shrink our clamorous years into mere instance within the earnestness of eternal silence. These truths awaken to endure forever. Neither apathy nor frantic striving, nor neither man nor boy, nor any force hostile to joy can fully erase them or destroy. So even when we stand far off from the seas on a calm day, our souls can glimpse that underlying ocean that carried us here, can in an instant journey back to it, see the children dancing on its shores and hear forever the mighty water sailing. Okay. See, we may travel far, we may travel far from the seas. Our souls have sight of the immortal sea still. We may travel far inland, but we still have sight of the immortal sea, which has brought hither. And we can in a moment travel hither and see the children sport upon the shore and hear the mighty waters roaring. Then sing ye birds, sing a joyous song, and let the young lambs bound as the tabrets sound. We in thought will join your throng. Ye that pipe and ye that play, ye that through your hearts today feel the gladness of me. Hey, see? Okay. What though the cadence which was once so bright be now forever taken from my sight? Though nothing can bring back the hour of splendor in the grass or glory in the flower, we will grieve not, rather find strength in what remains behind. Okay, so in spite of losing that glory, he says we will not grieve. Okay, he also earlier he says we can still go back to that glory uh, as if we are just traveling inland, but we still have sight of the eternal sea. Okay, let me read that again. What though the radiance which was once so bright be now forever taken from my sight? See, he says, sing ye birds, sing a joyous song, and let the lambs bound. We in thought will join your song. We will partake of your happiness. We will join that song. What if that one glory is lost? Right? What if it is ever it's not going to come back, but what though the cadence what though the radiance which was once so bright be now forever taken from my sight, though nothing can bring back the hour of splendor in the grass, of glory in the flower, we will grieve not, rather will find strength in what remains behind. Okay, so he's saying we will not grieve what is gone, but we will be rather find some strength in what remains, in the primal sympathy which having been must ever be, in the soothing thoughts that spring out of human suffering, in the faith that looks through death, in the years that bring the philosopher's mind. Okay, and see, let's just paraphrase it for simplicity. See, first he says, let the birds sing joyously, let the young lambs leap as if dancing to the drums. Though we may not join them physically, we'll join in spirit with those who play the music. We will feel the gladness with them deep in our hearts today. Okay, but there is a loss and consolation. See, even though the radiant beauty that once filled my life is gone, what he's trying to say is, and no moment can restore that, the splendor of blooming grass. Yeah, that cannot be restored. We will not dwell in sorrow. He says we will not grieve that. Instead, we will draw strength from what endures, from the deep original sympathy that once felt can never be lost, from the gentle reflection and dawn of human suffering, uh, from a faith that sees beyond death, and from the wisdom that time bestows. So that's what he says. Okay. In the years that bring the philosophy, okay, and oh, ye fountains, meadows, hill, and groves, forbode not any severing of our love. What does it mean? Forbode not any severing. So he says he is addressing the fountains, meadows, hills, and says that okay, do not forbode or predict something as if some love is lost, right? It is not something that is lost. We have no severing of our loves. We are not having less love than before. Uh, Yet in my heart of hearts, I feel your might. I still feel your might means I feel your influence and power. I only have relinquished one delight to live beneath your more habitual sway. He says, okay, I have just lost that initial one glory, but I live within your sway, in a habitual sway. I love the brooks which down their channels spread, even more than when I tripped lightly as they. The moment's brightness of a newborn day is lovely yet. He says nature still affects him. It sometimes even affects him even deeper because now he has the heart and the experience and the empathy. So that makes him perceive nature more deeply, even though that glory is lost. That's what he's saying in the end. It's a kind of consolation. You'll see. I love the brooks which down their channels fret even more than when I trip lightly as they. The innocent brightness of a newborn day is still lovely yet. Nothing is, it's not, you can still feel it. The clouds that gather around the setting sun do take a sober coloring from the eye. Why? So it's an interesting thing. See, the clouds that gather around the setting sun do take a sober coloring from the eye that had kept watch over man's mortality. See, what does he mean? It's colored, right? It's okay. So our pain actually colors our experiences. When we see nature, yes, there is a certain gloom because we now have experienced man's mortality. So there is a certain gloom. Okay. It colors that, okay. Another race had been and other planes are generations come new, other palms are won. But thanks to the human heart by which we live, thanks to the tenderness, its joy and fears, to me, the merest flower that blows can give thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. That is amazing, right? The last lines. So he's saying, thanks to the, I just paraphrase it for you. Okay, so the clouds around the setting sun take on a solemn hue, seen through the eyes that have long watched the frailty of human life. So we are sad, slightly. It's not that bliss as it was in a childhood. The the frailty of human life. Generations have perhaps new victories claimed. Yet I give thanks to the human heart, to its tenderness, to its joys, its fears. Even the humblest flower now can stir thoughts too profound for tears. Why? Because now the human heart is able to perceive that, right? So he's thanking that human heart, and this human heart is what helps him perceive and give and be affected by even the humblest flower, and it brings, and even that humblest flower brings deep that are very, very deep seated, even for tears to reach. That is amazing, such an amazing sentence. And that's what makes Wordsworth a real poet, right? So, see, this not, I don't know if it's a universal truth. People do recollect their childhood very fondly, but not everyone. I mean, not everyone is affected by the sense of lost glory of childhood, like the poets. I mean, they regret probably more, they feel more, and that's why they are poets. It is not that the common man doesn't feel, but then something is lost that Wordsworth clearly sees that. He sees what is lost. Okay, the thing is, the idea is people are divine in their childhood. They are very close to nature. They are very close to the source. As we grow on, we start paying importance to other things. Okay, like getting a job, like marrying, getting into the world. But Wordsworth says, he forget the most important thing, that is our divinity. It's a very, very, very interesting way Wordsworth has written it, and it's very poetic and beautiful as he always presents his poems like that. Okay, so that's what the poem is about. It is about perceived loss of glory, but there is a kind of consolation in that our human heart still has the capability of feeling great emotion, and he is able to feel nature still, even more deeply. So that's how he ends the poem. Uh, this poem is certainly like it touches upon an important fact. Like people probably do not even realize this, but Wordsworth and poets like Wordsworth, they pointed out in these kind of poems. That is why it's worth reading. And there is always something to learn in poetry, right? So we'll discuss a few questions related to this in the next video. Thanks for watching.